Hello everybody and welcome to PE and Everything, your PE based learning hub. Okay, today's topic is classification of skills. Okay, and I've got down for you 3 learning objectives which we're going to learn in today's video. Okay, the first one is to learn the different types of skills. Okay, breaking them down. The next one is to learn the classification of a range of sports skills using a continuum. We're going to go into that in a bit more detail, okay? And the final one is to learn practice structures, skill classifications, and relevant practice. All of this will make sense to you in a couple of minutes. Just bear with me, okay? Because it is easy once you put your mind to it. Very, very easy. Okay, breaking it down into colours, moving on. So the first thing we're going to look at is a continuum. Okay, so a continuum is a line of judgment, a line of your judgment. So if you can back it up by yourself, that is your judgment. Okay, so here's an example, purely. So on one side of the continuum, we have got coffee. On the other, we've got tea. In the middle, we start with hot water, so that's neutral. Okay, if I add a coffee bean, you could say it's safe to say it's coffee, somewhat coffee. If I add the tea bag, you can say it's somewhat tea, okay? But if I add milk with the coffee beans, it is completely coffee. If I add milk and the tea bag, it's completely tea. That's the continuum. So when I utilize it throughout this whole presentation, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Moving on. So, first learning objective, different types of skills, okay? So we have these things called motor skills. And what motor skills are skills related to muscle action, okay? So large muscle groups, and it's here I'm drawing a bicep and a tricep for you here, but if you use large muscle groups, that is called a motor skill, okay? So we've got 2 different types of motor skills. We have fine motor skills, and then we have gross motor skills. And what I mean by fine motor skills are using intricate movements. Okay, intricate, very, very detailed. And gross skills are skills using large muscle groups. Large muscle groups. Okay? So remember that. So if we go on to this next bit, we're going to break it down even further to you. And we're going to say gross skills are things such as walking, running, jumping, and throwing. Okay, whereas fine skills involve precision, accuracy, detail. Okay, so if we have this continuum and we put swimming, where we're going to put our cross? Probably at the gross end, because it requires large muscle groups, whereas a shot in snooker would be more about precision, so it's a fine skill. So when it comes to sport and physical exercise, there are a bunch of factors that come into play that can result in change. So you have other people around us, terrain, weather, and the situation, the venue. They all play a big part. So we have open skills, and then we have closed skills. And what open skills are things that occur that are unpredictable. Okay, such as football, basketball, and rugby, the environment is continuously changing, okay, due to the factors that I've got down here below. And because these are external factors, we would say these skills are usually externally paced. Okay, externally paced. We're going to go into a bit more detail about that. Closed skills, on the other hand, they occur in a more stable environment. So the performer knows exactly what to do in that environment because these factors don't really play a part in there. So as I put here, it's not affected by the environment. And these tend to be more self-paced skills. Okay, I'm going to go into a bit more detail about that. So if we look at sporting examples, a long pass in football would be an open skill because you have things like other people, the weather, the situation, they all play a big part. Whereas a closed skill, a gymnastics floor routine, it is exactly how they would practice it. So if we look at this continuum, a badminton serve, where would it be? I'd say it'd be a bit more of a closed skill because it's occurring in a familiar and stable environment. Whereas a pass in basketball, other players, okay? So yeah, it'd probably fall on the open skill side of the continuum. Now, as I said, we've got self-paced and we've got externally paced. So as we've already stated, a self-paced skill is usually a closed skill, okay? And therefore, the individual decides when the movement will occur or begin. Okay, whereas an externally paced skill is usually an open skill. Okay, so the control is not determined by the individual. So if we look at a continuum, if we say a sporting example like a free throw in basketball, that's incredibly self-paced. Okay, they decide when the movement will occur. Whereas in windsurfing, a lot of it is externally paced because the wind and the waves and the environment will play a big factor in that. Nextly, we have simple skills, basic skills, and then we have complex skills. So basic skills, these are straightforward skills, requires little concentration, okay? Limited thinking is required, a few sub-routines, and it's a limited decision making. Okay? Come on, matey, you ain't got all day, you put them in there as well. Okay, whereas the complex skills, a complex skill involves a long attention span. Okay, they're very complicated, practiced in training repeatedly. It has many subroutines and it can sometimes be dangerous as well, okay? So if we look at this continuum, we've got sprinting, okay? I would say it's a simple skill. Whereas something like a smash in badminton, it's not dangerous, but it requires a lot of thinking, okay? And it's repeatedly practiced through training. So therefore it would be a complex skill. Okay, now we have low organization and higher organization. Okay, so when we say low organization, it means that the skills can be separated into subroutine, into parts. Okay, subroutine. So they can be separated into parts and practiced individually. Okay, so as I've put here, they have stages. Whereas a high organization skill, it is something which is too difficult to split up into these sub-routine stages, okay? And it's normally a whole movement. Not because it's difficult, it's because it's difficult to separate, because it's a continuous movement. So on this continuum, I have got a dance routine. Stupid pen, doesn't work. Perfect. A dance routine, where would we put it? Okay, a dance routine, it can be split up into stages, so it's a low organisation skill. Whereas something like road cycling, it's a continuous movement, difficult to break down, so it'd be a high organisation routine. Okay, perfect. Now, we've learnt about these different stages and we've learnt about these different continuums. So now we're going to put it to practice. Okay, I've got 4, but I'm really going to select 5. So I've got 5 different continuum, as we have already learned. We're going to give ourselves a sporting example like throwing a jab in boxing. I would say it is a gross skill. Okay, it's also a closed skill. It's somewhat self-paced because the other person can take into account. It's a simple skill and it's high organisation. Okay, when we talk about something like a 10 bounce trampoline routine, we could say that it's a fine skill. It's also a closed skill. It's self-paced. It can be simple but complex. However, it's also a low organisation skill. Okay, try these out for yourself. Have a go. Choose a sporting skill and go through these different continuums. Okay, the more you go through them, the more you'll get used to how they work. Okay, and remember, if you put them somewhere on the continuum because you feel like that, it's okay. You just got to be able to back it up. Okay, with why. Now, ready for the final learning objective. So, each method of practice is most appropriate for particular skills. Okay, and if we draw ourselves a box, okay, half, quarter, and we have 4 methods. Firstly, we have fixed method, we have a mass method, we have varied, and we have a distributed method of practice. Okay, so if we use our red pen for this one for our sporting examples for each, perfect. So we go straight into our fixed method. Okay, repeatedly practicing the whole skill. Used to develop the skill, it's best suited for closed skills. So an example for this would be something like a free throw in basketball. Moving on to the massed method, continuous form of practice. Best suited for more simple skills, recreates the game situation as fatigue is normally, I'll put this now, as fatigue is caused. So an example for this would be maybe a rally in tennis. Perfect. A varied method, a variation in practice drills, replicating the skill in various scenarios, best suited for open skills, lets the learner use the game or get some learners used to the game situation. For an example, it would be maybe a 3v2 in basketball drill. Then the final method of practice would be distributed. So practice is divided into periods of work and rest. There is a period for mental rehearsal, best suited for complex skills, and it's good for learners who lack motivation. So complex skill, mental rehearsal. A good one for this potentially could be practicing a somersault, whether it be in gymnastics or on the trampoline.